Hail, hail, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 8 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank, and he's Tommy. And I tell you what, we've got big smiles on our face today because we are on the back of a 3-run winning run. 3 brilliant victories. 2 of them clean sheets, which I know is going to please this man here, Frank McGarvey, Celtic legend, someone who has consistently been preaching the need to shore things up at the back because successful teams are teams that lose few goals. But Frank, 3 victories. We're looking forward to St Johnstone tomorrow. We're playing Hibs away on Wednesday. If we could win those next 2 matches, I think we're seriously considering Celtic challenging for the title again.
Yeah, I think so. I think the most important thing was not losing not losing any goals in the last 2 games. I love that. I love when I hear Celtic 2, whoever it is. No, I love that because it means they're defending well. I'm not really convinced that they're really good yet. I've still to see that. Even the games they've been winning, they've not been great, I don't think. But if you've got a guy like Kyogre, who's not in the game at all, and then up steps an unbelievable goal, it's just brilliant to watch. And the crowds are back now, and we're starting to see better play and better goals. So that just shows you how important the supporters are.
Frank, it does, I think, highlight what's happened to Celtic recently, that luck sometimes plays a role in football, because I've got to be honest, hand on heart, our victory away to Aberdeen wasn't convincing. I think we carried a bit of luck, a bit of quality at the end. I don't think we had good all-round performances throughout the team. I think Jotaro was the exception. I think he was that piece of quality, and I was glad that he scored that goal. However, winning that game, that important game before the international break, I think has given us a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence, and we've now went on to 2 further victories, as you say, importantly, without losing goals. And from my point of view, I don't know if you'll agree with me, I think as an attacking unit, I think we look exceptional at times. As a defending unit, I think we've got a lot of work still to do, even against Ferencváros during the week there. If we're honest, we should have probably lost 2 goals. Cameron Vickers and Starfelt both gave the ball away at the back, and we could have been punished if Ferencváros were a wee bit better quality. However, I've got to say, I think both of them are improving from a defensive point of view. What do you think?
I think we've done really well, but I think who we've been playing have not been great. Ferencváros wasn't a great team in my view, and as you say, they had chances. If Celtic come up against a really good side, then I think they'll be in trouble defensively. But I think Celtic can, with the players they've got up front, Jota's starting to take my eye. Kyogre, I love him. I think he's just brilliant. And I think Kyogo's helped the team as well, because the rest of the players are watching his work rate and they're saying to themselves, we'll have to up our work rate or we're going to be embarrassed, because this guy is going to embarrass us. And I think that's been important. That wee thing's been important. And that might be the thing, it's always small things that make a big change, and that might be the wee small thing that Kyogre does that everybody else is now defending better. And now, for the last 2 games, we've not lost any goals. So I back up that statement with the 2 results.
I think you're absolutely spot on, Frank, because Kyogre, what he does is he starts the defence from the front. Yes. I mean, his closing down of defenders, he must be a nightmare to play against. I played defence most of my amateur and junior career, and you hated forwards that wouldn't let you get the ball and look up and make a pass. You hated those forwards that harried you and made you play the ball quicker. And what Kyogre does is he harries and he runs, he closes down, And I think it's infectious throughout the team, isn't it? Because if you're playing in a team and you're seeing your centre forward doing that, I think you're thinking to yourself, I better do that as well.
No, you've not got a choice. You've got to do it. I remember playing against Rangers one day, and I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Davy Cooper. I'm not convinced. He hit the ball in the left wing, and I ran back and I tackled him in front of the jungle. I thought I'd just scored a goal.
Right.
The jungle went crazy. We Frankie boy getting Davy Cooper and tackling him. It was a shy for Rangers right enough, but then I jogged up the park again. I said the defence can deal with the rest. But that day, I always remember the jungle just giving me a big roar, as if to say,
appreciate it.
They know that I do a lot of runs going forward and try to get in behind defences, and Kyogre is really the first player I've seen since I was playing that harried players get back the way. But you can't do it all the time, because you've got to leave energy and your quickness for going forward as well. So you can't do it all the time. But Kyogre does it. He's brilliant. But he's got to watch he doesn't do it all the time, because we need him. Look at him. He hardly had a touch of the ball, and then the goal the other day was just brilliant. The pass for Jotaro, he hits it for 75%. It's straight, and then at the end it takes a bit of spin right to Kyogre's legs, and his first touch is absolutely unbelievable, and then that makes it easy for a wee slide into near post, and that was. They had a goal at that earlier on in the season as well. Kyogre passed the ball, but he received the ball this time, and that's the bit of class that Celtic need to win games. Now, as I go on about the defence, if they can get the defence right, and we've got guys like Jota and Kyogre up front to get the goals, then Celtic have got a better chance of doing things this season.
I think it's not hyperbole to describe that pass and goal as world class. Sometimes people use that term and it gets overused, and therefore it gets undermined. But personally, I think the pass and the finish was world class, and I seriously believe that the young boy Jota is coming on leaps and bounds every game. He's getting his confidence, he's finding his way. I think he's now looking at his surroundings and his team, and he's getting to know everyone, and I think he is a quality signing. I think Kyogre definitely is a quality signing. I've still got doubts over Abada. I've got to say that. I think he tries hard, the young lad. I think he just turned 20 last week there. If James Forrest is fit, I've got to say to you, Frank, I would play Jamesy before Abada. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because as a young person, young player, surely seeing somebody else coming in and offering you competition, you're either going to raise your game and develop, or you're going to show that maybe you don't have it at the highest level and you're going to go in a huff. So I would like to see wee Forrest fully fit, and I think he would offer a new dimension to us going forward.
My problem with Forrest is he's injury prone, and is he going to be in the team for a long time? Is he going to get injured again? I'm worried about, because usually when you see players getting injured, it's the same. When I was at Celtic, it was the same players in to see Brian Scott in the treatment table every Monday morning, and it was the same players in the dressing room not injured every Monday morning. So you've got to watch out for that. The same players all the time getting treatment. So I'm a wee bit concerned about Forrest and what he's doing. And he's injury prone, I think, and that's not a good thing. You can't build team or teamwork if somebody's always getting injured, can't play, then he gets a rest, and then he's got to get fit again, and it's a long time, and it's not good. You know, when I went down to Liverpool, I was talking to Bob Paisley one day. I said, what's the most important thing for you buying a player? He said, we check that they're not injury prone. We don't want players that are injury prone in our squad. And I went, wow. He said, that's one of the reasons, Frank, you were never injured at St Mirren. And when we came in, that was one of the factors that why we bought you. You're never injury prone. I said, what else? I was trying to get everything out of him. And he said, you scored against Celtic and Rangers when you played against us at Man. And he said that was very important to us as well. So it's amazing, you know, if a team's watching you, what they're looking for.
Right.
So you don't want injury-prone players at your club. Full stop.
I suppose that type of discussion, Frank, is less applicable to Jamesy because his injuries, I think, have occurred more recently in the last couple of seasons. I mean, I think Jamesy's 30 years of age, and most of his career he hasn't been injury prone, but I think he's been a great mainstay of our 9 in a row. I think he's an underrated player. I think James Forrest, a number of great goals he scored, but also the goals he sets up. However, the point that you're making about being injury prone, does it apply to wee Mikey Johnson? Because he come on the other night there against Ferencváros. He also had a wee cameo role against Motherwell on the Saturday, and by the way, he looks like a new signing. And on his game, I mean, against Ferencváros, he made about 2 or 3 chances. He was only on the park about 15-20 minutes. Pure and utter quality, and that ability. He's the type of player, he's like a wee Jinky Johnson. He's the type of player that you pay to go and watch because he takes players on, he commits players. He's not happy with sideways passes. He wants to go and take somebody on. So from my point of view, I want to ask you, you've had, I think, 1 serious injury in your career. A broken leg. Talk us through the experience. I mean, how significant was that to your career, and how hard or easy was it to come back from that and get your full fitness?
Well, actually, it was Hamish McAlpine that broke my leg up at the D-United, and he meant to break my leg, and he came right through, followed right through. I actually played on in that game, and I had a broken leg.
Seriously, I didn't know that, Frank.
I played on in that game. I thought I said my leg's really sore, and I didn't know it was broke. Then there was a big long ball went through, and I chased after it. As soon as I sprinted, I just collapsed. And
was this at Tannadice?
Tannadice. And Brian Scott came on, and I said, Brian, I'm seriously injured. I knew then there was something wrong with me because I never felt this pain before, and I said, I'm seriously injured. And Charlie Nicholas, who was my partner at the time, scored 53 goals that year. Amazing. And some people think it was amazing that I put him in for my all-time Celtic team. I don't. Anyway, that's another story. I got Hamish McAlpine back a number of years.
Well, wait a minute before you go into that. So Brian Scott comes on. You're saying you're seriously injured.
Right.
What does he do then? Does he notice right away? Does he is the bone? I take it it's no pierced the skin or anything like that.
No,
but
nothing.
And was it the tibia or the fibia? You know, because you get the 2 shin bones.
It was
there.
the fibia.
Right.
That's the weakest bone of the 2, which was a bonus. But that was more easily broke.
Right.
And Brian Scott said, you broke your leg right away.
Seriously, yeah. Right, just like that.
He said, you broke your leg. And he said, and I said, right, I'll walk off. I was going to walk off, and I would be limping, you know, maybe hopping off, and stretcher and everything came on for me, and
was it a league game, cup game?
I don't even know. I just remember running for a long ball into Hamish McAlpine. Hamish McAlpine cleared the ball. Hamish didn't like me at all.
Ah, right. So there was a wee bit of malice, was there?
Not a big bit of malice.
Big bit of malice, okay.
Yeah, and he came right through, he followed right through and just took me out.
That's not very professional, is it? I mean, you're supposed to have respect for your players even though you don't like each other, but that you think he deliberately tried to injure you?
Oh, no problem. No doubt about it. No doubt. Me and Hamish didn't like each other, we could put it. He didn't like me. I used to not let him kick the ball easily. I always wanted him to kick the ball with his left foot, and I always stood on his right hand side to stop him, and he hated me for that because he couldn't clear. He was a very good striker of the ball, but I broke my leg, and that's the only injury. You're talking about boys at 30. When I played up to 38, and from 30 to 38, I was never injured. So I don't think you can make excuses for players in their 30s. No, somebody in their 30s is still a young boy, so you can't make an excuse for people in their 30s getting injured. Roy Aitken, I don't think was ever injured.
Right, Big Roy.
And
he was hungry, but because we kept shouting, feed the bear. So he was a hungry boy.
Oh, he loved that, and the fans loved that, you know. Roy's, but he was never injured. It was the same players never injured, and it was the same players injured all the time. Oh, I'll get this and I'll get that, and you can't believe it. But that's very important in a team. And you're talking about Forrest coming in. I would let Forrest go to a smaller club and get somebody in that's good at that position, and he's young and he's not injury prone. Why not do that? And then you've got a better chance of winning things. Now we're talking about all the small things.
Yep.
But all the small things make into a big thing and make the team better. And you've got to get... and I think Angie said before these games we're a lot better prepared. And I felt confident about when he said that. When Angie said that, I said, he doesn't tell lies. He tells the truth all the time to the fans, and I love him for that. Because telling the truth's not always a good thing, right enough, but we're not going to all that.
Yeah, but let's be honest about it. The reason he's endeared himself to the fans, Frank, isn't just his background and the whole idea of the status he's got, having to have struggled as an immigrant, going to a different country, things that people can have empathy with and associate with. I think his honesty is shining through in his interviews. I mean, the one the other night there, I watched him. I think it might have been Radio Clyde, but I think it was BBC. And he was asked, does he look at the table now and think that it's a bit healthier? And he said, I thought the league was over, mate. Why look at the table? And he then went on to say, we only look at our own results, and that's all we're at. And I thought, brilliant, mate. You've just slapped that guy right in the coupon for his stupidity of. Remember the couple of weeks ago, the league was over. I mean, pathetic.
Well, I actually watched Rangers last night, and it was a good result they had. But I don't think they are, the team they were last year. I think they're still. If Celtic played them just now, I think Celtic would be scoring goals against Rangers, because I thought there was a few times.
Well, don't accuse me of sour grapes, but how bad were Malmo?
Malmo were poor.
Oh, come on, mate.
But the team Celtic played as well were not very good.
They weren't as bad as that. They weren't as bad as that. That's the worst team I've seen. I mean, there were a couple of times they're right through, and the guys supposed to be crossing them out to the other side for a corner. The centre forward was miskicking it. The centre forward goes right through, right at the start of the second half. Bad pass back for Barisic. He's got to score. Pathetic pass the post.
That's why they're not a great team, because they've not got great players. But I found that Malmo gave the ball away very easily from defence. They were giving Rangers midfield the ball, and Rangers were getting in. But it's a good result for Scottish football. We've got to remember. I know Scottish football. We've got to get as high as we can. Yeah, okay. And I know you're giving a big roar as if disappointing and things. But I want to see.
Listen. If I'm, you're talking about being honest and all the rest of it. I think most Celtic fans, that's just the way we are. Our closest rivals get beat, then you're happy about it, because it means their heads go down. It means their form might dip, and that's better for you for the winning the league. Now, whether that's wise and whether that's a rounded out view is debatable, because you're right, you should be looking at the Scottish coefficient and all the rest of it. But I think from our point of view, what's the best interest of Glasgow Celtic, and the best interest is that the Rangers are losing games and losing momentum. So that's the way I look at it.
The best thing that can happen to Celtic Football Club is Rangers to play at a high standard. Right? Because then Celtic have got to reach that standard, and vice versa. The two teams are brilliant for each other, because you just seen what happened when Rangers went down to the third division, which I think was one of the worst decisions ever made in football. All that money lost in the Premier League. I know you go, Snarrow and all that.
Frank, you can't get away with cheating, mate. You can't get away with cheating. They cheated.
Well,
they cheated. They needed to be punished.
I know, right, okay, they cheated and needed to be punished. But to be punished, it's like to say, you kicked that guy there, we're going to hang you tomorrow. You know, that's no right. You know, and what you're saying is good for being a Celtic fan and all that, and everybody will be cheering you for saying all that, and well done. But that's my views. That's my views.
You're entitled to that, mate.
I would love to see Celtic win the league this year, and it'd be a brilliant league, and Celtic playing brilliant. But I think
against a stronger opposition rather than a weaker opposition.
And then if we do that, then we become stronger in Europe. And if we become stronger in Europe, we've got more money coming into Scotland, which means Scottish football can improve a wee bit, and we march on. And these are very, very important issues. And I know that you'll be saying, "Oh, you know, I'm not happy about that," you know, Frank. You know. But I like to see. I always remember in 1982, Celtic, Dundee United, Aberdeen and Rangers all played big clubs in Europe. I think Dundee United were playing Barcelona, we were playing Ajax, and we all won our games against the top teams in Europe. And Scottish football was very high at that time because all the clubs were doing well, and each of the clubs were making the other clubs better.
Yep. No, it's a great point, and you're coming from an era, Frank. You played in an era where you had at least 4 good quality Scottish teams.
Yeah.
In fact, all of the teams were difficult, but at least 4 quality teams. Dundee United were at the top of their game, Aberdeen were at the top of their game, and obviously Celtic and Rangers. So I understand where you're coming from. And the truth is, if we're perfectly honest, I think it's a bit unfair for us to talk about the Rangers not being as good this season as last season, as if Hibs haven't improved and Hearts have come into the league. I mean, they've come up for the first division, and the truth is they've signed good players. The young lad they've signed for Everton, I can never get his name right, young black lad, midfielder, I think he's a fantastic signing. And the boy up front, the Northern Irish striker, very, very consistent. The boy at the back, Halkett, I mean, fantastic centre-half, attacker of the ball. They've went to Ibrox and they stood toe-to-toe. And they've ended up coming out unbeaten. So they've beat us at home, they've went to Ibrox and they've not been beaten. They've got to be considered, not maybe a serious title contenders, but I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be a better season this season than we've had for maybe 8 or 10 years.
That's very important. If I go to a football game, I want to see a good game of football. You know, I don't want to see a poor team playing against a brilliant team. I want to see them all much of the same. And the league tells you that all the teams are much of a muchness. But I think Celtic, Angie, what happened in the last few weeks was Angie said, we're better now and we're ready to go. And I was like that, wow, why is she saying that? Things must be happening in the background. He might be getting extra help from the board, that might be happening, I don't know. And things like that, you know, things like that he could be more happy with. The board helping him to get the players that he wants, not who the board want. The board don't really know a lot about players and things like that, and they've got to leave it to the manager. They've done it in 1965 with Jock Stein, and Jock Stein won a European Cup 2 years later, and I think they should do it now.
Frank, you talked about things going to get better, and Ange talking about us being better prepared and things like that. If you compare Livingston away, when we have a bench and the boy Scales is on the bench, Giacomakos, the big Greek fella, was on the bench, but apparently they weren't ready and they weren't fit. So he brings on 2 central defensive players when you're chasing a win, because you're 1-0 down, you're chasing a goal, and he brings on Soros and Beaton. Compare and contrast with the last 2 games. Motherwell were able to bring on Mikey Johnson, you're able to bring on Giacomakos, you're able to bring on guys who actually can influence the game. That big fella, I've talked already about Johnson against Ferencváros. The big fella Giacomakos comes on against Ferencváros, and all of a sudden we've got a different dimension to the team, because you can actually go long. He's holding the ball up, he's winning his good fouls. But he looks like a player who's got a lot of ability there as well for a big guy, 6 foot, and he had a cracking effort, overhead kick in the box. Surely that now shows the point that Angie's making. We are now getting to the stage where we're not just talking about the 11 players on the park. We're talking about a pool and having the ability to dip into your bench to improve the team on the park.
Well, that's extremely important, and I think they should play him up front with Kyogre, because I always remember going to Liverpool and that time, just before I went, John Toshak and Kevin Keegan were up front for Liverpool, and they destroyed teams because the teams didn't know if they were going to play short into Kevin Keegan, or long in behind for Kevin Keegan, or a long ball to Toshak who would flick on to Keegan. There's so many options. Liverpool, and then they had their midfield players, Souness and all that, going up and hitting shots and scoring, and players like that. So I would like to see that happening. I think that would be an ideal forward line. A big tall guy, and all of a sudden he's going to be marked, and that gives Kyogre, who's playing up front himself just now, a lot more room. Imagine he got a lot more room, what could happen?
Okay, listen, I think it's a fair point, Frank, but moving towards our next couple of games, I want to ask you what you think the selection should be, and I'm going to put my hand up here, apologise to Big Ange, because last couple of episodes I've been a wee bit worried and maybe a wee bit more critical than necessary. I had a recent event, the Rock, St Rock's Juniors, 100 years old, and I had the great pleasure and privilege to be asked to speak at the event up at Parkhead, and I got a chance to speak to big Chrissy Sutton, and I was asking him about whether he thought Ange was the right man and the tactics and things, and he made the point, look, the guy's only in the door, as you keep saying, he's only in the door, give him a chance, he needs to be given a season, and I was saying, yeah, but I'm worried that you go to games and it's like going to play golf and all you've got is a putter in your bag. Sometimes you go to games, you need to have different options rather than playing that one way all the time. However, the point about bringing on the big Giacomakis the other night was it allowed them to then go and play a different way. So I've got to take my hat off, because see, before the Motherwell game, Frank, I've got to say, I thought, oh no, don't play Turnbull and Rogic together. I think the two of them are similar players. I think they sort of nullify each other. They go into spaces that both of them are looking for. And I was thinking, put in Beat on to hold the midfield, release Callum McGregor forward to get a wee bit more creative and play either Turnbull or Rogic. Probably Turnbull, because Rogic had an overseas trip on international duty with Australia. Now, Ange didn't listen to me, not for the first time and certainly not for the last. He played both of them. One of them sets up a goal and the other scores a goal. So he's right and I'm wrong.
But he's watching these players in training and he's saying, well, he's improving. Now, for him to say that last week, that the team is more ready, I was like, oh, that was good, I like that. And he was right. 2 clean sheets in a row, that's so important and to me. And and I don't think it's because he's got a great defence. I think it was a lot of luck, as you said earlier on, which you need in football. But I'm always you're talking about when I broke my leg, that was a bit of bad luck for me. But you've got to make bad luck into good luck. And when I broke my leg, I took my time, I get back, and then I trained. When I was ready, I trained very, very hard, and I came back. And I was flying when I came back, right. Scoring goals, making the runs. So I made that breaking my leg into a positive, and I came back a better player because of it. A lot of people...
Can you remember what age you were when you broke your leg?
Broke my leg about 27.
So you were 27.
I was in my prime.
And then the point you made earlier there was that when you came back, you then had an injury-free period for the rest of your career?
That's the only injury I've really had. I've had a few bad tackles for Rangers defenders in my time.
Are you saying they were dirty players? I'm
not saying they were dirty players. I say they accidentally missed the ball and hit me. But what I had done, I would fall.
John Gregg one of them? Did Big John, did he kick you a few times?
John wasn't quick enough at the time. to get to me.
But John McClellan, he kicked you a few times.
He kicked me. But I would always get up, no matter how sore I was, I would always get up, get back up and walk towards them and look them straight in the eye and walk away. And when they weren't looking, I was rubbing my leg. I was rubbing my leg. I was like, oh, that was a sore one. I couldn't let John McClellan know that he hurt me, because if I let him know he hurt me, he'll just keep kicking.
Yes, good point. Good point. I was going to say you can never allow your enemy to think that they've hurt you, but you would probably say opponent rather than enemy.
Well, you're talking about John Gregg. A lovely guy. I'm a member at Lindsay Golf Club, and he and his son are a member up there. Great guy, and I always remember him when I was playing for St Mirren one night. I went by him and he said to me after it, he said, "I'm doing you the next time." And I said to him, "John, you have to catch me first."
Listen, we move towards concluding the episode, Frank. Game tomorrow against St Johnstone, game on Wednesday against Hibs. We're at home tomorrow, we're at Easter Road on Wednesday. Let's finish with you giving me your 11. Who starts tomorrow? Who would you go with?
That's easy. The goalkeeper.
He's been a great signing, eh?
What he done there was bring in experience. Now he doesn't. He's just not a goalkeeper. He's given that experience to his defence, where he wants his defenders to be at corners, and what he wants them to do, and he'll be going through everything with pass backs, where he wants the ball when they're passing it back, which is very important. I've seen a few own goals in the last month or two, unbelievable own goals with pass backs. So he's telling them all the wee things, and they're starting to get to know him. And it takes a while. It took Aberdeen and Dundee United 2 years to get brilliant defences. Mm-hmm. That's what it took them, a long time. I played against them at that time, and Aberdeen were rated 12th in Europe at the time, and Dundee United were rated about 18th at the time, because they had brilliant defences. And that's
okay, so
important.
we've got Big Joe between the sticks, and he picks himself now. I think he's been a great signing. Let's have a wee shout out for Anthony Ralston. I still think the guy has got limited quality in a forward area in terms of the final ball.
Yeah.
But in terms of his defensive qualities, I think he's improved immensely over this last few months. And I think it showed the tackle he put in against Ferencváros. We've just scored, we've went 1-0 up, and they had a break. Ball comes across, and it's a tap in for the forward, and he gets back. It wasn't his man, but he gets back, he tucks in, and he puts in, and it could have given away a penalty, but he timed the tackle brilliantly. That to me sort of summed up his development. I think I think it would be very unfortunate to drop him for Juranovic, the Croatian right back just now. I don't think it would be justified.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, a defender's got to defend first. If he can get forward, great. You know, you look at Tommy Sheridan, he was a brilliant defender. He get forward, scored brilliant goals, get back and defended. I would say that he was the best left back in 1967 in the world at the time. So, you know, Celtic had, but that's important. To get back and defend properly, and as you said, you're not worried about Ralston and what he does, as long as he doesn't give the ball away. But if he's defending well, that's so important.
Okay, so I'm starting with Ralston.
What can I ask? What formation? That's very.
I know, Frank,
that complicates me.
I know, but Frank,
because I like players to help other players and to have something there to help that. And the formation's so important.
I know, but it's unrealistic, isn't it? Because I would play a 3-5-2. That's my favourite formation. Ange isn't going to play that, unfortunately.
I would play 4-3-3 because you've got 4 defenders at the back to mark the 3, so it leaves the team with a player extra.
But very few teams play with 3 up front, Frank. Most teams nowadays, they play with 1 up front, with 1 just behind, and sometimes they play with 2 up front, right? So the idea of always needing 4 at the back, I don't think is right. I think 3 at the back is enough.
Well, and you've got 4 at the back marking 3, so you've got an extra player for the rest of the park. So what's the problem?
I think the area of the park that you need to win the game is in the middle. And that's where you need the extra players. That's why I want 5. I want 2 wide, I want 3 in the middle, 2 holders, 1 supporting the front 2. And I agree with you with the idea that the big Giacomakos and Kyogre. I think Kyogre playing off a big forward, I think you'll see the best of him. I think his runs will be immense. However, if we're realistic, given we've just had 3 wins in the trot, given we've just had 2 clean sheets, he's going to start with Starfelt, he's going to start with Cameron Vickers. The only question is, who does he start at left back? Because he played Bolingoli against Motherwell, and he's not, Bolingoli is not I'm not a big fan at all. But I've got to put my hand up and say I thought he had a very steady game against Motherwell. I can't complain. Gave the ball away a couple of times, but throughout the game I thought his positional play and everything was reasonable. So I can't really have a go at him. He brought in the boy Ralston instead of the boy Scales for the Ferencváros game. I've got to say I'd have preferred they gave the boy Scales a go. I think he's bigger, physical, more athletic. But again, the boy Ralston, after a couple of poor games, he did all right against Ferencváros.
You're asking me to get a team, and what's the best team? It's very, very difficult to get the best team. I know maybe 5 players that you could put in right away, but then you've got to put the other players about them that help them. They might not be the best players, and that's what making a team is all about. It's not about having 11 individual players on a park all playing. It's having 11 players on the park as one.
Good point.
Playing a team. Jockstein got it brilliantly. We nearly had it in the early 80s. We had a great team. Going forward, it was magnificent. We scored over 100 goals one season in the 82-83 season. And the fans loved that. But we never won in that season.
Do you know, Frank, there's an old saying, there's no I in team. And I think the point that you've made is exactly emphasising that it's not about the individuals, it's about gelling as a unit, because you don't win things as individuals, you win things as a team. You lose things as a team, you win things as a team. I think if we win tomorrow against St Johnstone, which I'm quite confident we will.
Because they are poor just now.
And then we've got a tough visit, to Easter Road. Tough visit tough trip, because I think on their day, Hibs are certainly one of the best teams in Scottish football right now. I think their attacking options with the boy Boyle is fantastic. I think he's got great pace. However, if we can pick up 3 points tomorrow, 3 points on Wednesday, we've then got Livingston the following week at home.
That's a difficult game.
Well, we're playing them in our park this time instead of the bloody artificial turf.
Artificial turf should be banned in
so.
Scottish football, because it makes football boring. It's the same surface all the time. It's the biggest load of rubbish ever brought into football. Well, it's got to be banned now.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree, because you've said Scottish football. I would ban it from the Premier League. I think at the lower divisions, where the economics of clubs is so challenging, I think they need to have community surfaces that allow their park to be hired out every night of the week so they can generate revenue. I can understand that at the lower echelons of the league. Top league, however, Premier Division, should be played in grass. That's my opinion.
You're talking about the money it would cost to get a guy to cut the grass once a week. I don't think it's that much.
It's not just that, it's the bad weather we've got, Frank. If the weather cuts up the pitches...
Bad weather, good weather, dry, soft, heavy, it's all different games. So I used to play different ways when if it was heavy, I would play a different way than if it was dry, and if it was soft, I would play a different way. So the fans are seeing different things happening, which you're seeing from the manager now. He's bringing this new system in. That's exciting. We don't want boring football. I watched the Manchester United second half game the other night. It was unbelievably brilliant. So it was the half where they came and they were 2-0 down, came back. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see the ball getting hit to the right, to the outside right. He passes it back to the right back, into the centre half, out to the left back, and back to the goalkeeper. Who wants to see that?
Well, I'll tell you what. If we win these next 3 games, all winnable games,
yes,
if we can negotiate St Johnstone, Hibs, Livingston. I think it sets us up for a title challenge.
Yes.
I'm absolutely confident about it. And the finishing remark I would make is, you've just mentioned the Man U. I think we need to give a shout out to our cameraman, Gordon, who is a massive Man U fan.
Have you given him praise?
Yeah, I'm going to give him praise because he does allow you to look better on camera than you do in real life. So, I mean, I think whatever he's doing with his lighting and his position of the camera is fantastic.
He's not giving me any oil for my face.
But I do have to say, shout out for Gordon, does a brilliant job. Big Man U fan, but he's a bit worried about Sunday because they're playing Liverpool and they are on fire. I
have to say, Salah's goal last week was unbelievable. What a goal that was. That is just complete and utter genius. And, I hate to say this, but the crowds are coming back and we're seeing all this genius by players and all these brilliant goals.
Outstanding. He's probably the best player in the world right now.
Well, he's not far away from that position. I would say he's not, because I watched Ronaldo score that header the other night for the Manchester United winner, and I have to say that Ronaldo is the best centre forward I have ever seen.
Yes, but I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree with it, but I'm talking about right now. Ronaldo scored a good goal. Salah is scoring exceptional goals. Exceptional goals. So from my point of view, we'll have that debate later, but I do have to finish by saying, Frank, it's fantastic in this podcast that we've got a man who can talk with passion and knowledge about Celtic. You can then flip in to talking about one of your other former clubs, Liverpool. And we're going to finish a final comment.
Oh my God.
One of your other former clubs, we're going to say, come on the buddies, on Sunday when they host the Rangers. We want to St Mirren to win.
I'll tell you, I was at Love Street last week, so I was, and they were playing Ross County, I think, at the weekend, and I said, I told everybody, I said, Love Street is buzzing just now.
Okay.
The people in it are on a high. We're not on a high. They are very confident. I spoke to Tony Fitzpatrick, one of my best friends ever. Great guy. He is doing a brilliant job there. He done a brilliant job as captain. He won the first division. He's doing a brilliant job. He came back to St Mirren, won the Scottish Cup, so he won 2 trophies with St Mirren. He was a manager at St Mirren, and a good manager, saved St Mirren from relegation, and he's went on to help St Mirren. I think there should be a statue put outside St Mirren Park for Tony Fitzpatrick.
Well, he's certainly one of life's good guys. Tony Fitzpatrick, you've got a great shout out there, and you've got a good friend in Frank. Thanks for listening to episode 8 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We'll see you next time, but let's hope next time we speak we're sitting with another 9 points for the famous Glasgow Celtic. Hail, hail!